indescribably violent, abusive to you, the individuals who are suffering at the hands of the state and the state's malicious litigation. One of the big reasons is because they swear an oath to the Queen of England. Do you think the Queen of England cares if people who are being litigated against by the state in the province of Ontario are getting fair trials? Come on! But you will not see anybody in any type of position of influence question these issues. Although I do predict that the Toronto Star eventually will get around to looking at that. But you won't see any of the MPPs say or do anything about it. There is absolutely no way that anybody in Canada should be swearing an oath to the Queen of England. Give me a break. A multi-billionaire foreigner, never faced an election, born into, she won the birth lottery, big deal. Never had to worry about the things that regular people worry about, and they've all sworn an oath of loyalty to her. So when the next time you're in a courtroom and you're being effed over by the state, think about that for a minute. Why don't you go ahead and send a letter to the Queen of England asking her for some relief and see what kind of an answer you get. So,
they place children in danger all the time.
Please allow me to speak a little bit about what I've learned after having been litigated against by the province of Ontario for almost 10 full years, from the summer of 2006 until the spring of 2005. If any of you feel as passionately as I do about these issues, please consider this. If you are ever a defendant or a respondent in the courts of Ontario, this doesn't work if you're the applicant. It only works if you're the defendant or the respondent. I just finished up a multi-year trial in Chatham, Ontario, where I got charged for helping a family keep the children's aid from throwing their children into stranger danger foster care. And I did a multi-year trial. And during that trial, I refused to stand up in court. Whenever the judge, provincial court judge Paul Coalition, whenever the judge came into the courtroom or left the courtroom, or whenever I spoke to the court, I refused to stand up. And the judge would say to me, Mr. Carter, would you please consider standing up? Would you please consider following the rules of the court? And I would say to him, considering what I know about the administration of justice in the province of Ontario, considering the fact that I'm being litigated under administrative law, which is not a real type of law, please research this issue. In the province of Ontario Provincial Court, which is the largest and most extensive court to operate in Canada, they do something called administrative law. It's really nasty. It's where the judges administer the province's legislation. They don't adjudicate trials based on evidence. They administer the province's legislation. It is a huge difference. And I was in that trial, and Judge Coalition would say, Mr. Carter, would you please consider standing up and following the rules of the court? And I would say to him, why would anybody ever stand up for a judge in the province of Ontario, considering what a cesspool the administration of justice is here? Considering the fact that the courts of Ontario impose on the taxpayers to the tune of billions of dollars per year, but they're not part of freedom of information. Are you kidding me? How are the courts and judges of Ontario able to operate out of freedom of information? And I would also say to him, as a proud Irish Canadian, why would I ever stand up for somebody who swore an oath to the Queen of England? Are you kidding me? And so what I'm telling you is that if you are a defendant or a respondent in the courts of Ontario, don't stand up in court. If you continue to stand up in court when the judges enter and leave and when you speak to the court, what message are you sending them? You are sending them the message that there's nothing wrong with the administration of justice in Ontario. That it's business as usual. I respect you, Your Honor. I'm willing to follow the rules which I'm not obligated to follow. The rules which you only have to do on a voluntary basis. You're not telling the province of Ontario that we are sick and tired of your administration, your perversion of the administration of justice. One way to do it in a very explicit way is stop standing up in the courts. Stop calling the judges Your Honor. Unfortunately, if you're going to call them anything, you do have to call them judges, unless you're willing to take on the Courts of Justice Act. There's a section in the Courts of Justice Act that says they have to be at least called judges. If you're willing to take that section on and say it's not constitutional, then have at her. God bless you. You'll have all my full respect. But please, folks, stop standing up in the courts. Unfortunately, if you are the applicant, you're going to have to stand up. Because if you don't stand up, the judge will just say, okay, I'm not going to hear this case. That's how arrogant they are. They expect all of you to stand up. I mean, it's incredulous when you think about it. They expect all of you. Nobody does more gratuitous injury and damage to the people of this province than the judges of the courts of Ontario. They are the sources of some of the worst criminality in this province. Not only do they think they have the Law Society of Upper Canada right to inflict all types of criminality on you, they want you to stand up while they're doing it. Anybody who swears an oath to the Queen of England, and I'm talking especially to people from Scotland, or people from Ireland, or people from India, or people from any country where the English government and the English military did damage to the people. Why in the heck would you stand up for somebody who swears an oath to the Queen of England? Come on, folks. She's a multi-billionaire foreigner. She's never faced an election. She won the birth lottery. She has multi-billions of dollars and is constantly trying to obtain more. She could not care less. And this has nothing to do with it being a queen. If it was a king, it would be the same thing. She could care less about the people of the province of Ontario. And yet every single day, numerous times in the courtrooms, you are assaulted with the God Save the Queen garbage. Not God Save the children who are born into terrible circumstances. Not God Save the families who are maliciously litigated against in the Secret Child and Family Services Act court. Not God Save the countless individuals who are unlawfully convicted and incarcerated, having their lives destroyed. No, God save a multi-billionaire foreigner. That's the courts of Ontario. And that's why we have no respect for the justice system participants. The only reason the justice system participants are able to perpetrate their violence on the people of Ontario is because they can do a fair fight. If the justice system participants were going there, we would join our noses with them. But they set up the system in such a way, and the two biggest issues are no rights to freedom of information work on the courts and judges of Ontario and the Children's Aid Societies.